What's up guys, my name is Your Heroes and welcome back to more Gates of Hell news update, and today we're going to be reviewing devlog 159 and it is called Content Update 6 and the Talvisota update revealed. Now I've just put a community post up regarding this update, so make sure you kind of comment your thoughts on what you think of this update. And I know it was released yesterday, the 20th of August, as of yesterday, and this update has to be one of the, in my personal opinion, again, it looks like massive, one of the biggest updates I've ever seen. It's including a massive update to the Talvisota DLC and also huge amounts of free content update to Conquest, as well as to the operation completion kind of stage after the Conquest environments, anti-aircraft weapons optimization, visual and video options, animations, and a lot more. So if you guys like to stay tuned for more content like this, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know what your comments down below, what your thoughts are on this. If you've already read it, or if you feel like there's maybe anything that I missed in this video, then of course let me know in the comments down below. But without further ado guys, let's just get straight into it, and I'm very excited to announce it. So it says, hello everyone, today we'll be revealing the contents of the next free update, Content Update 6, and the upcoming Talvisota update. Now if you don't remember what the Talvisota update is, this was release of the Finnish faction and the Finnish campaign, and I feel like this is actually quite a crucial and important time to update this DLC, because I feel like it's quite an undermined DLC, because the Finnish army is not as powerful, or in my opinion is one of the weakest factions in the game so far. Even though it has some very powerful units and, you know, taking copied kind of tanks from other factions like the USSR, I still feel like it is one of the weaker factions in the game, and this is why they've probably come to announce it, because people in the community feel like that the Talvisota, the Finnish faction, is not kind of up to scratch with the Americans, with the Russians, the Soviets, and the Germans. So over the years, among the almost 60 updates that we have released, the most important ones have been the 4 community updates and the 5 content updates. This will be the 10th major update in the game. This time we have also the Talvisota DLC. Can you actually believe that this is actually, it's been 4 community updates and 5 content updates, and this will now be the 10th major update in the game? I mean, that is insane. And I mean, this game only came out, what, a good amount of years ago, maybe about 2019 I think it came out, or my memory's just gone blank. A few people are going to probably shout me in the comments for that, but this game it still feels relatively new to the gaming world, and it's done so much work to it. So, you know, big hats off to them. But let's keep reading. So first one that we're going to be talking about is the Talvisota DLC. The Talvisota DLC will see a considerable upgrade. We will add a vast amount of new units, new human models, and an additional single-player campaign mission to the Finnish forces. The quality and optimization of the new Finnish human models will match those of the previously updated models for the USSR and Germany, as well as those for the USA. The new human models were developed with support from the community, so a big thank you goes to @Sandals_F1 for sharing his time to work closely with us over the past months and sharing his vast knowledge on this particular topic. So big shout out to Sandals_F1 for the hard work that he's produced out. I mean, look at some of these photos. They are looking really neat now. I mean, I know it still looks quite bland and quite, you know, black, and which is probably what other factions have, but honestly, this is looking so much nicer, so much neater, tidier. The human models are just looking so much more realistic to what it was before. I mean, some of these have got, you know, you can see the pocket guns that they hold on for your pistols. You've got, you know, you can see some of them have badges on their uniforms to show kind of what rank they are, and even the tanks as well. This is of course based off the Soviet T-28. So obviously now that is looking very nice and finished because of that paint job. You know, it's a finished paint job with the Finnish logo on it. So honestly, this is a great amount of work. You can see this is the Stug that they also took off. Well, this is ones they took off the Germans. But these human models are looking absolutely fantastic, honestly. And look at that. You can see now the aircraft, anti-aircraft guns. One is kind of in the summer looks like, and one's in the winter. You can see that from, again, the paint job that you see from the anti-aircraft gun. I mean, it looks so much more well modeled than it was before. I think the base model, of this, or the original model, didn't have that amount of detail to kind of the bottom part of the anti-aircraft gun. Now it just looks so much well modeled and detailed, which is incredible. We've also created a single player campaign mission, or single player mission for Talvisota. It will feature Simo Haya in an action-packed mission that will make you feel the horror and freezing cold in the Winter War. Now, if you've not heard of Simo Haya, he was often referred by his nickname to the White Death, and was a Finnish military sniper during the Second World War in 1939 to 1940 Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union. He used a Finnish-produced M-2030 rifle and a Sumoi PK-31 submachine gun. So I kind of expect those guns to be used in this game. So there's a lot of information, and a lot of people have heard that name, the White Death. I've definitely heard it before. I've never heard of Simo Haya, but I've more heard his known proper name, or the name I've heard of before, by the White Death. So that is going to be a very interesting mission to see what will come about. And if you guys feel like this is quite accurate to, to what is actually the missions played out to be in real life, then let me know. This update includes 18 new vehicles, over 400 new models, 38 new headwear pieces with their variations, and new Swedish weapons, voice and units. This time it has come up for the Swedes to reinforce defense. That could be very interesting, because now that the Swedes are in the game, could we see more Swedish units kind of join in with that Finnish faction? Because if it is, that'd be very, very cool, but it wouldn't feel as special, because Sweden should have their own faction in the game, even though they weren't hugely. I think Sweden, as part of World War II, they were kind of like a buffer between the Axis and the Allies. They were feeding. Sweden were kind of giving support to Nazis through kind of production, I believe, through kind of like coal and kind of other type of materials, where they also helped the Allies, I think, through spies, I believe it was. So if I'm right, then let me know about that. But that is very cool to hear that now the Swedish are now coming into the game. So that is it for the Talvisota update. What do you guys think of that? I'm very excited to see what these new units could be, and now that they're going to match up with the amount of this USSR and the Soviets and the Germans, and the Americans, then it is going to be absolutely incredible to see a lot more units for the Finnish, and more options to play for Conquest as well when you are playing the Finnish faction. So that is huge, huge, huge. Speaking about Conquest, so this update brings the first set of improvements and new features to Conquest, with more planned in the future. It'll be a long road for our small team to take Conquest to our final vision, but today you will receive the first set of new features and essential optimizations. Now, for this Conquest update, I generally had to wrap my brain about it several times. Because of my autistic dyslexic brain, I wasn't able to compensate it. So I'm going to read it first, and then hopefully you guys may be able to understand it better than you do. If you do, then let me know in the comments, or write it down in the comments, because sometimes my brain just doesn't pick up some of the obvious things. So this is a new thing called persistent maps. So currently we are playing a battle, when playing a battle at a specific location in the operation, the game map is randomly changed each time a new battle occurs at that location. Now each location of the operation map will always be a single map, and it will be randomized when the operation is first created, and after that the map remains the same for each location. So this change enables to add new feature, persistent map. And what does that all mean? I know it sounds all quite confusing, but what this means is that it entitles that entities that were built or destroyed in previous battles remain in place and are added to in each subsequent battle on the same map. For example, Conquest will now remember building destruction, knock down and destroy trees, craters, destruction stamps, player built fortifications like foxholes, and tank traps, destroyed vehicles, and more. So you can see that, for example, these are kind of the pictures ones. So this is when you first get into the map. So this is when you'll first kind of see the buildings and now all the sandbags. And then the start of the second battle, this is what it'll look like once you start your battle. And what that does now, once you see this, it will be saved for the next operation. All this map, for when this map appears again in your next operation, this is what it will remember. You know, all these knockdown buildings, you know, all kind of these wrecked tanks and all these kind of destructive buildings have been destroyed. All that will be remembered for the next operation that you do on that map, if that makes sense. So that is what it means. So for another example, you can see that this map, it's when you first load in, this is what you'll see. And then for the second map, you can see that there's a few, you know, you can see that there's a few buildings being destroyed. You can see that there's tank traps along here, sandbags built along there, destroyed tanks as along the way. So all this will be remembered in the operation if you play that same map again. All this will be remembered for that. So I hope that makes sense. So persistent map is supported also in co-op as well. You'll see a small percentage number next to non-host players when they join co-op lobbies of maps with safe destruction. Players will auto download the map changes to avoid desync, and the new percentages show downloaded progress. That's actually very good, because I was worried there that when you do this in co-op that the other players that join wouldn't be able to do it because it's only specifically to that player. But now that they've said that other players will now auto download the map to avoid desync. So this means that you're still will be able to play with each other even during kind of that map when it is being destroyed, or when that host player has kind of used that map before. So don't worry about desyncs. It should be okay, but it's always still, you know, a kind of a dodgy kind of topic to talk about when you're talking about desyncs and crashing on maps and mods. So that's a whole nother topic. But the fact that they've added that in so your game doesn't crash or desync is a very good addition as well. So let me know what you think about that persistent maps. Do you like this change, or do you think that keeping it the same way was better? Going on to operation completion, we've added a new option to Conquest that appears when you complete any operation. So this will be at the very end of the operation. So once you've started your campaign, this will be at the very end, that will be the end of your operation. So this will be the end of the mission that you do, not the end of the campaign. Sorry, my fault. Previously, after winning an operation, you'll be given the choice to either end your campaign and start a new one from scratch, or continue your campaign in a special unlimited operation that does not allow for any progression on the operation map. But apparently now this feature allows you to choose what your next operation will be while keeping your current units and progression. That's actually very, very good. So I retake back that comment that I said about the campaign. So this is when you actually finish your campaign operation. This is at the very end of the campaign when you've completed all the missions. So if you complete it after 11 days, which is fantastic, it will now give you the option to select what next operation you do, so you can keep continuing on with it. You can keep it to a very large, medium, or small. So that is very, very good. It just means that you're now able to save all your units, you know, if you want to keep continuing on with that campaign, or if you want to just end it, then you still can. But the fact that now you have an option to keep all your units, that, you know, all the units you've researched and bought, you're able to keep that. So that's a very, very good addition there, and I like it a lot. So keep that up, which obviously I felt like that should have been added to update maybe a couple updates ago, but I do understand why they're kind of adding it in now with the kind of the Conquest. But they've done so much work to Conquest that there should have really been a change mostly at the very start of Conquest updates. This means you continue playing with your unit force endlessly from one operation to the next. This feature paves the way for future improvements we would like to bring to operations. Going on to environment. So throughout content update 6 and beyond, we will be receiving a partial rework of the Ostfront environment assets. Over the last 10 years, we've been working on the game, the level of detail and technical complexity of our models, and it has advanced dramatically. The time has come to update Ostfront to the standards of our Western Front assets. We'll be doing so gradually as our small team is spread thin among the multiple fronts. In this update, you'll get a select few higher quality models and textures for improvement assets. Take that as you will. To be honest, I think this is quite a good small update, you know, or change to the game. I think those kind of bring some fresh kind of tactics to certain maps as well. You know, people have to learn about higher quality models with certain soldiers, learn about the enemy team as well. So I think this quite good change to the environment will work definitely well with this update, knowing that players have to, from the community, have to kind of learn kind of how new environments work within those maps and how they're able to have to learn from kind of the higher quality models from the enemy team as well, which will be fantastic. And one of the probably the most important updates about anti-aircraft weapons, and an important breakthrough was made with anti-aircraft targeting. We identified the cause of the issue where AA guns would aim but not fire at enemy aircraft, and have subsequently fixed this. This has been a long-standing issue and have been investigated many times, and thanks to key pieces of information from a community-provided bug report, we've managed to find the cause and address it. I mean, thank goodness. Honestly, I would say this is one of the biggest issues that's wrong with AA. I mean, the whole point of an AA is for anti-aircraft. You're meant to shoot down aircraft, but I remember having multiple problems where in campaign missions where there was enemy aircraft and I had AA or in Conquest, and they just wouldn't shoot down the plane. They would just aim at it, look at it, but not actually shoot it down. So the fact that they fixed this is a huge step, and now it is going to be basically AA firing. As soon as they see it, they'll fire it straight away. But then my worry is, does that mean now kind of aircraft is now just become obsolete? I mean, they kind of are obsolete. There's not a huge amount of aircraft in the game already, but now that AA is going to start working now, does that mean people are going to use aircraft like bombing runs and strafe runs left often in the game? So that's my wee bit concern of it, is there's just going to be is aircraft just going to now just be not used as the most least unit in the game, which it kind of already is anyway. But now that the anti-aircraft is working, is it now going to just become not used at all? So let me know what your thoughts on that is. The optimization. So you've got the optimization for Conquest, Vegetation and Human Model. So this update comes with several changes that improves general performance. The extent to which these will affect performance will vary from user to user, but you should expect an improvement. So for Conquest, several optimizations have been made for Conquest. These optimizations reduce the amount of memory Gates of Hell consumes when playing Conquest. Testers report reductions varying anywhere from 10% to 50% in memory use depending on their settings. These improvements have a bonus side effect of reducing the load times in a Conquest battle. I mean, yes, I've had this exact experience before where when playing Conquest, I look at kind of my memory usage when playing the game while the game's still playing, and oh my goodness, it takes up so much memory usage when playing Conquest. I mean, it's quite unbelievable, because I know Conquest is quite a big campaign depending how big the campaign you make it. So if it's a small campaign, it might not be as bad, but if it's a large campaign, which most people go for, then it can certainly use up a lot more storage. So in that case, I'm very happy for this change to go through, and I'm hoping it will have a big effect into kind of these loading times, because honestly, reducing loading times in Conquest battles and just in normal battles should be priority for Gates of Hell. And they should also feel like make a fix to this for mods as well, because mods is quite a high performing thing in the game and use up quite a lot of usage as well for memory. So maybe that's another thing they could focus on for next time, is that when people are using mods, because mods is quite a high thing that people use in this game. So I feel like they should try and reduce load times when people are using mods as well. But let me know what your thoughts are on it, because that is fantastic. For the vegetation, we've replaced several Ostfront vegetation assets that were determinable to performance with more optimized versions, which I've kind of talked about in that environment topic right there. And then human models, the new Finnish human models and headwear use over 1 gig less space on disk than before, and they reduce the amount of memory needed when playing a battle that includes the Finnish faction. That is fantastic news, but I feel like they should be doing that for all the factions as well, not just the Finnish faction. So if they're able to introduce this for all factions, then that would be fantastic. But the fact that they've made a start on the Finnish faction for this is a good start, and hopefully they'll be able to implement that for the other factions as well, because they're, for the Soviets, for the Germans, for the Americans, they have an enormous amount of units, especially Americans, which introduced the 101st Airborne DLC, or whatever it is, the Airborne DLC. So I feel like they should do that. So going on to visual and video options, we also have taken the time to address other regard rendering issues. Ambient occlusion has been improved with better horizon-based ambient occlusion parameters. The video option presents were tweaked to give a better image. A new video option, maximum 32 gig, has been added, further improving the game's visuals. However, it requires a 32 gig of RAM or more to operate basically stably to have it. Yeah, that is not my language. If anybody understands what that means, I presume for my dyslexic autistic brain, that just means that the game is just going to be brighter and better for image wise, and you need a 32 gig of RAM to basically operate this. Really, that's the way my brain kind of understands it. But if anybody has a better understanding of this, then let me know, because that'd be fantastic. And kind of going on towards the last thing, which is animations. That's not everything. We'll also bring new animations to the game. We've made several improvements, implemented new features, and created new animations using motion capture. So you can see here that we've got kind of a walking motion animation, a running animation, and also you kind of got that flinch animation when they are being shot. So it says, from new animations, take advantage of the new randomization feature. Soldiers will run and walk differently from one another, perform different variations of animations to create more natural, immersive gameplay. So you can see here that they're kind of running differently from each other. You can see one's kind of holding one with 2 guns, one is kind of running with 1 gun. So one is running with a gun with 1 hand, whereas one is soldiers running another with 2 hands to his gun, if that makes sense. So another new animation feature is the addictive animation system. This allows multiple animations to play simultaneously without overwriting one another. With this new technology, we've implemented a system that makes soldiers flinch when a bullet hits them. So you can see here in this one, you can see that this soldier kind of gets hit here and he takes kind of like a flinch there, like the way I did there. So that is quite realistic, makes it very cool. It just probably means that he will get affected, and it's not just your soldier, it'll be for enemy soldiers as well that this happens. And of course, if you want to play this, you need to kind of switch to the open beta, which I have already done a kind of a short on. So if you want to see that short on how to change to the open beta, then I will leave it in the link down below, or check out my channel for it. And of course, the Finest Hour, which is all about the British DLC that is still being developed. It still continues in parallel to this DLC, and we'll be sharing a bit more of this content in future blogs. So there you go, guys. That is all for content update 6, as well as the Talvisota update. Let me know what your favorite part of this update was. Was it the Talvisota update, adding more Finnish units, or was it the fact that Conquest is now getting changed for, for when maps get saved, for when you destruct buildings and all that. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching and our support. And if you want to check out my last video, then click left here. But than that, thank you so much for watching and our support, and I will see you in the next video. See you later and goodbye.